Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Helen Chen, and my presentation is called Rethink the Way Our Beliefs Are Shaped by Faulty Logic. Today, I'll walk you through how common logical fallacies appear in everyday conversations, media, and debates, and how being able to recognize them can help us think more clearly and communicate more effectively. Also, I apologize if I cannot click slideshow and present it because when I do that, the Zoom doesn't show up. It just shows a black screen and only my audio. Background information. Logical fallacies are reasoning mistakes that often go unnoticed. They can make arguments sound convincing even when they're flawed. These errors are especially common in debates, the news, social media, and casual conversations. Learning to identify these fallacies is a key part of critical thinking, helps us avoid being misled by weak arguments or manipulative language. Source text 1. This fallacy happens when someone assumes that because a conclusion is true, the premise must also be true. For example, if it rains, the ground will be wet. But if we see that the ground is wet and assume it must have rained, we ignore other explanations like the sprinkler. This example is from Clear and Present Thinking in chapter 7. This passage is helpful because it shows how easy it is to confuse correlation with caution when people draw conclusions based on assumptions instead of full evidence. It weakens the argument. By learning to spot this fallacy, we can avoid rushing to conclusions and think more critically about what we observe to hear. Source 2. In critical reasoning and writing, false dilemmas are described as arguments that present only two options, ignoring other possibilities. This fallacy oversimplifies complex problems and pushes people into choosing between extremes. False dilemmas are especially common in emotionally charged discussions. When an argument presents only two outcomes, it limits the conversation and can block compromise or deeper understanding. Recognizing this fallacy helps us realize there's usually a broader range or perspectives to consider. Source 3. Clear and present thinking also defines hasting generalization as drawing a conclusion from limited or unpresentative evidence. For example, saying all New Yorkers are rude because you met two rude people from New York is an unfair and unsupported generalization. Source 4. Another type of fallacy involves weak induction. This is when the link between the evidence and the conclusion is weak to justify the argument. It is explained in critical reasoning and writing in chapter 13. This fallacy is important to understand because some arguments sound convincing at first but fall apart when we look closely at the evidence. By learning to evaluate how strong the connection is between a claim and the support given for it, we can separate solid arguments from weak ones. Source 5. In Chapter 8 of Clear and Present Thinking, there's a section on reasonable doubt that encourages readers to examine their own biases. When we doubt our own assumptions, we're more likely to notice when our thinking has gone off track. This idea is a great reminder that flawed reasoning doesn't just come from other people. We have all biases. Recognizing that helps us engage in discussions more thoughtfully and listen more carefully in other perspectives. It also pushes us to grow as thinkers and communicators. Real life example 1. In politics, false dilemmas are common. A politician might say you either support government spending or you want to ruin the economy. Even though there are many moderate options, this extreme framing creates division and discourages compromise. Real life example 2. In advertising, affirming the consequent is often used. For example, a skincare brand might say other people with clear skin use our products, so if you use it, your skin will be clear. This ignores other important factors like genetics or diet or mislead consumers. Real life example 3. Social media amplifies hasty generalizations. A single bad review might cause someone to post the company is terrible, even if it is just one isolated experience. This can lead to misinformation and unfair reputations, especially when others share or believe it without context. 3 questions. How can common conversations be improved by identifying and correcting logical fallacies? What role what role do social and cultural factors play in the common mistakes people make? And number 3, how can we challenge and rectify faulty reasoning, particularly in the media and public discourse? Questions. When people are aware of fallacies like Arrhenius' dilemmas and hasty generalizations, they are better equipped to spot errors in reasoning and create more perspective questions. When these misconceptions are constructively addressed, conversations become more fruitful and clear, encouraging others to think more critically and speak thoughtfully. Question two. Social and cultural factors shape our ideas and often perpetuate misconceptions. For instance, the media usually presents issues as either or false dilemmas, and cultural stereotypes can lead to snap decisions. Understanding these elements help us understand how flawed reasoning may be impacted by broader trends. Question three. To disprove flawed reasoning, we can look for alternative perspective, hold sources responsible, and ask clarifying questions that reveal logical errors. This tactic encourages a culture of critical thinking while halting the spread of misleading information over simplified ideas. Citations and text. This project is from Clear and Present Thinking by Bretton Myers and Critical Reasoning and Writing by Moore and Parker. Specific chapters include discussions of fallacies, ambiguity, reasonable doubt, and classification of fallacies. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this presentation gave you helpful tools for recognizing fallacies and think more clearly. If we all work on spotting these patterns, we can have better conversations and make smarter choices and have better luck at marketing when it comes to business and be more aware of how arguments are presented to us every day. Thank you.